there everyone, it's Kathy and you're back here on my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. Thank you so much for stopping by, and tonight I've got a really cute little project for you. This particular card, I made it from the Flowering Rainboot stamp set and the Rainboot dies. These are so cute and it makes such a cute card, but I think what really set this card off was using this free pack of paper called Sunshine and Rainbows. This pack of paper is absolutely adorable. It does kind of pair with the rainbow stamp set that's in the new mini catalog. Let me pull the catalog and I'll show you that stamp set. I thought it's actually a suite, I believe, or a bundle, but I thought it was kind of cute. I do have it ordered, but I haven't gotten it in yet. At first I wasn't too sure that I would like it, but then when I saw this paper, I did go ahead and order it. But I think the dies are really cute because they will cut these pieces, and then you can actually put different color paper behind them. I thought that was just really super cute. But this paper will definitely pair really well with this. And you can see these stamps, you could stamp them in different colors and make different little things, and then you've got the sentiments that will fit in there. So I thought this was really kind of cute, but the paper actually steals the show. And this is a free pack of 6x6 designer series paper. There are 48 sheets, and I'm going to show you a sampling of everything, and hopefully I can get this in the camera frame. But look at this paper. I mean, it is simply gorgeous. I love, love, love the vibrant colors. It's just really, really pretty. You've got everything from dark to beautiful pastels to bright yellows, and I just found it to be really, really a cute pack of paper. And what I did is I used a piece of this for the upper part of my card, and I just paired it with Pool Party for the bottom, and I also made my card base out of Pool Party. And then I went into the stamp set and I went ahead and stamped out, and we're going to redo this, but we're going to do it in some different colors just to show you the versatility of this particular stamp set. And I always like to do one card and then do it in a different color to show you the versatility. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And I say tonight, this will go up tomorrow, but I am trying to record tonight. Tomorrow is January the 8th, and it is my husband's birthday. So I'm pretty sure I will not be in the craft room tomorrow. We're going to run out and do some things, probably have a birthday late lunch, early dinner, and so we're looking forward to that. And I'm just so blessed to be able to have my husband to celebrate his birthday with him. So this is the piece of designer series paper that I chose, and I think what I'm going to do, I want to make the bottom of it, I think I'm going to use this teal. And you might say, well, and this is actually Bermuda Bay, and there's not a whole lot of Bermuda Bay in here, but if you look really close, there's that little bit of Bermuda Bay, and I think it's enough that it's going to pair really pretty. So I'm going to use that, but for my card base, I'm going to use Magenta Madness. So the first thing I want to do, as always, and I brought this piece out because I wasn't sure if I wanted to use this yellow or not, but it doesn't really pair well with that yellow. It does kind of match that in the rainbow, but it looks like that's kind of overpowering. So I'm going to lay that sheet to the side, and I think these are my two colors that I want to use. And Magenta Madness and Bermuda Bay pair so well together anyway, and with this dark blue background, I think this is going to be really a stunning card and quite a bit different than this one. Okay, with all that being said, let's go ahead and cut our card base out of the Magenta Madness. And I'm going to make this a landscape card. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut my card base like I always do. On the 11-inch side, I'm going to cut it at 5.5. And this is 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper or cardstock. Then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to line it up on my 4 1/4, and I'm going to score. But I want to get that cut blade out of my way, and then I'm going to score that right there in the middle. And remember what I always told you about folding your cardstock. Fold into that raised up area. So when you score, you're gonna put that down into, whether you're doing it on a scoreboard or your trimmer, you're gonna do that in. You're gonna get a much more accurate fold if you turn that over and fold into that raised line. So I just use the edge of my scoreboard for that, and I hold it. And then I just go ahead and iron that down, give it a good burnish. And I like to iron my entire card down because, like I said, you don't iron just a seam line in a pair of pants. You iron the entire leg. So that's what I do with that. And I just seem to get a much better fold, and it's much crisper when I do that. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to cut a piece of my designer series paper, and this is the one I'm going to use for the top, and I want that to come down. So let's grab our ruler. I want about 1/8 of an inch at the top, and I think I'm going to bring that down to about 1 3/4. So I'm going to cut 1 3/4 off of my length. So I want this to run this way. Whenever you're using paper that has a direction, you always want to be cautious of which way. And if you have to, because if you're new at this, you may have difficulty with that. I know that I did when I first started card making. Lay your piece on your trimmer, and then lay your piece of paper that you're cutting over top of it. That way you wouldn't be cutting it this way. You know that it needs to run that way, so once you get that in your trimmer the right way, then you can very easily cut this off exactly where you need it. So I'm going to go over to 2 3/4, right about there, and I'm going to just slice this off. And then I need to decide which way I need it, how much I want it to take this way. I know this piece is 6 inches. So this card is going to measure 5 1/2. So I want to do this at 5 1/4. So I'm going to line this up at 5 1/4 and slice that little piece off. And now I should have a perfect fit on here where you can still see some of that pretty pink showing behind there, that Magenta Madness. Now I know that I'm going to need 5 this piece isn't going to matter which direction because you don't have a pattern. So I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to need a piece that's going to measure about I want it to come up underneath that at least 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to do this piece at 1 1/2. I think 1 1/2 will give me exactly what I need. So 1 1/2, and that's going to be a small strip of this Bermuda Bay. And then we know that the width needs to be 5 1/4. So bring that over to 5 1/4, cut that off, and we will have our front pieces ready to go. And if you want to, you can run a piece of Stampin' Seal or two-sided tape or whatever and put this together before you put it on the card, or you can glue it down on the card and then match it up, whichever works best for you. But I want to do some stamping on this piece. So I want a little piece of grass or turf or something that will look like grass. I knew that I had something that had grass on it because I remembered seeing it. And this stamp set right here called Easter Friends. Look at these adorable ducks and that bunny rabbit. Absolutely adorable. And look what I have right there. The little sprig of grass, which is exactly what I was looking for. On this one I actually used the stamp out of the, I want to say it's the Tulip stamp set. I can't remember but it was one of those flowering tulips. No, maybe not. Maybe it was the windmill. But whichever one it was, I found that little bit of that looks like little tulip leaves, and I stamped that like 3 times across there. But it didn't give me exactly what I was looking for. So I thought, I know that I have a little tuft of grass somewhere, and I think this is going to be perfect. So we're going to kind of stamp that on and off and up and down just to give us a little bit of a grass look there. So I'm going to grab a piece of my grid paper. I like to put down grid paper anytime that I'm doing some on and off stamping. That helps keep my mat clean, and it also sometimes helps me line things up because this grid paper has measurements on it that makes it really easy. And if you need to stamp off, you know, from the side or something, this works perfect. So I'm going to line that up nice and straight. And I think for this I'm going to stamp Bermuda Bay on Bermuda Bay, so sort of a tone on tone. I always like that look. And I'm going to actually stamp it first on this other piece to make sure. That's why your scraps sometimes come in so important, because they can help you decide if that's what you want to do before you actually stamp it onto your full-size piece. So I'm going to stamp that off like that, and then maybe up like that on my second generation, and then overlap just a bit and up. And see, that's given us a little bit of the jaggedness of the grass. Yeah, I think I like that. And then up and up. Yep, that's exactly what I was looking for. See, that looks like some nice little grass for those boots to be sitting in. So we're going to go ahead and do that on this piece. And I'm going to come back there and do that second generation right there. And then I'm going to stamp here and here. I really think I like that. I like that little up and down. I need to come back right there. See where I got kind of a little empty spot? Right there. That's perfect. And then right there. That's what I was looking for. So I'm going to clean this off on my grid paper. That'll make my cleanup a little easier when I get ready to do it. Now we're also going to need a piece of our thick Whisper White, and the reason I want to use the thick is because we're going to be doing a little bit of stamping and fussy cutting. So before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and put this together, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down first. This will help me get my edges lined up exactly the way I want them. So I'm going to move that out of my way. And I think I'm going to use some glue because I want this to, I want to have a little wiggle room so that I can adjust this exactly where I need it. And anytime you're needing a little wiggle room, always use some of your liquid glue. And use whatever glue makes you happy. We all have our preference with our glues. So I'm going to press that down really well. And now I'm ready to put this piece down. And again, I want to make sure that this lines up directly from this edge to this edge and keeping that same margin around. You see how cute that's going to be? And we're going to pull some of these colors for our boots and our water can and our flowers, and I think that will be beautiful on there. So I'm going to use glue on this. You just want to be careful when you're using glue on your designer series paper. Don't get too much glue because it can give you a little bit of warping, but it looks like I'm putting a lot down, but that is very minute glue. You can barely see it. So the first thing I want to do is line it up from edge to edge on that Bermuda Bay piece, and then push it down till I get my border at the top like I want it. Once I get that where I want it, then I can go ahead and commit by pressing it down. And that's pretty already. Isn't that looking cute? So now we're going to go ahead and get our thick basic white piece out. And I think I'm going to cut this in half. And I'll tell you why. I don't think I'm going to need the entire piece. And if I do, I can. And if I don't, then I'll have this piece left over for the inside or for a card base. So I'm just going to cut that at 4 1/4. And then let's go ahead and do our stamping. And I need to decide what color do I want my boots. And I think I'm going to make these the pink. I think I'm going to do them in the Magenta Madness. I think that would be real pretty on there. Or we could go lighter, but I'm not. I'm going to go with that Magenta Madness. I love this bright color. I think the boots will look so cute in that. And this stamp is a Dis-Inktive stamp, which means you don't have to color. You choose your ink, whatever color ink you want, and when you stamp these pieces, they will be, the shading is done naturally for you, which I think that's always nice, and that's one of the advantages. Now, if you're one of those people that like to color, this stamp set might not be for you, but I think it's always nice to have a stamp set like this. When you're in a hurry to make a quick card, you don't have to color it. Just ink it up and stamp it down. And it's already done for you. All the shading and everything is already done in there. How nice is that? Now I'm stamping that off over there just to get a little of that excess ink off. And y'all know me, I'm going to have to bring out my Simply Chamois because I cannot let my stamps sit without cleaning them. I don't always like to do this on camera, but I've had people to say that they enjoy the fact that I do show that it's important to clean your stamps. And sometimes, I mean, it's a little time consuming for me to do that, but it is important because I say this over and over. You make an investment in your stamps, so you want them to last, and the best way to do that is to keep them nice and clean. Now, they're going to stain. Your stamp, especially when you use a high pigmented ink and especially your photopolymer, they're going to stain. I'll put this down on against a white piece of paper. I'll do it on my grid paper. You can see there's some staining on that stamp, but this stamp is clean. You can see it's not leaving any residue of red or pink on that piece of grid paper. All right, the next thing we need to do is we're going to stamp that water can, and I want to do it. How about that really bright yellow? Let's look and see what that is. It looks like it might be Bumblebee. Mango Melody. So let's pull Mango Melody. And that's a super pretty deep yellow. And you can always look on the back of your paper, and right up underneath your very first writing on the back of your paper pack will give you everything you need to know. The title of the paper, that it's a 6x6 designer series paper, and underneath there it lists all the colors that coordinate with this pack of paper. Always a very useful bit of information. So I'm going to grab out my water can, and we're going to stamp that in that pretty Magenta Madness. So let me grab that stamp block again, and I'm going to lay my boots back over there and pick this up. See if that's going to fit on there. I think we're going to have to grab a little bit larger block for that one. That's probably an overkill, but that's all right. And I'm going to go ahead and ink that up and stamp it down. This color's a nice rich yellow. It's not like the Daffodil Delight that I did the boots in right there. This is going to look more orangey, which I think is great for a water can, because so many times we have water cans that get maybe a little rusty looking. And I think that's perfect for that. So I'm going to clean that off. And now we're going to go to our flowers. Now what color do we, I think I'm going to do those flowers in Pool Party. Why can't we have some blue daisies? I don't see why we can't. We could do them in, yeah, I'm going to do them in Pool Party. So here's our Pool Party. We could also, you know, go off the color chart a little bit and maybe even do them in a blue, like a balmy blue. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with what I was originally thinking to do. And I'm going to grab the flowers out. And we are going to do those in you know, I grabbed the wrong flowers. Haha. I'm going to do these. These are the ones that look like the little daisies. And I'm going to put those right there. And I am going to pick this up on this block. And these are going to look a little greenish blue, but you know, it's still a pretty color. Aren't those gorgeous? Such pretty spring colors. And I know we're in the, we're in January. I mean, it's, you know, it's supposed to be super cold here tonight and tomorrow and Sunday. And then it's even going to get colder next week. But, you know, it's supposed to. At least we haven't had the snow that the Mid-Atlantic states. And even though we are Mid-Atlantic, we are further west than in North Carolina. It's not like I'm on the coast where I could pick up all of that ugly weather. Some people might not call it ugly, but I'm a summertime girl, y'all. I like this. I like the warm weather. I am going to pull out, I think I'm going to grab Granny Apple Green for this. I think I'm going to get Granny Apple Green for my stems, for my tulips right here. I use Garden Green in this one, but I want to do this one totally different. So I think I'm going to grab the Granny Apple Green for those stems. And you see I'm trying to stamp everything at one time. I think this can always make it much easier when you get ready to cut, if you go ahead and get all your stamping out of your way. So I'm going to grab these right here and the Granny Apple Green, and we're going to do those right about here. So pretty. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my little flower pot. You know what, we're still going to need to do those roses, so maybe let's go ahead and, or not roses, but the tulips. I think I'm going to do those right about here. See if we can get everything on this one piece. Maybe right there. And then if we can still get the flower pot, I don't know, we might have to do the flowers. I don't know, that might work like that and this like this. Let's see if we can make that work. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these back on here. And I want to do these in, I think I want to do them in Poppy Parade. Yeah, I think those would be so pretty in Poppy Parade. So let's go ahead and grab that color out for our tulips. Poppy Parade is just a different shade of red, and I love it. I think it's so pretty. So I'm going to pick those up. And then we're going to set this down right about here. See what I mean? It's a different red. It's not, I think I did this one in the real red, and this is just going to be a softer shade of red. So just a little bit different. Like that. And then we need to do our flower pot, and I think I want to do that flower pot in, I've got the flowers that's going to go on it are going to be in the pool party. So I want something that's not going to, I think I'm going to do it in the pale papaya. I want pretty colors, and I want this to be very colorful, but I don't want anything that's going to clash. I love it. That's really pretty. So lots of color, lots of different colors, but all the same, they're very, very coordinating and without clashing. So I think that's going to be nice. All right, I'm going to lay this over here, and then we're going to go ahead and see if we can get these die cut, but I want to close up my ink pads. And get my pen back in my glue. Anytime you have, if you're using one of these glues that have a pin in it, you know what? It's not your bottle that gives you your problem. It's your pen. Your pen, every time it goes in, it goes into the glue. Clean the pen. And I like to clean mine with the alcohol wipe because that gets all of that residue of ink off of that stainless steel pen. And you will see now how easy this is going to slide right in. No problem. Little tidbit there. So now I'm going to get my dies and lay those over here. And I want to grab my die machine. And that little tuft of grass, I'm going to go ahead and put it back into my stamp set so I don't lose it, since it was the only stamp that I used for this set. So I'm going to lay that down there. And I showed y'all in my last video about this beautiful Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So we're going to just do this again, and I'm going to show you once again how well this machine works. I am going to lay this down just like this, and I'm going to put my little dies on here. I am going to use my little flags this time because I don't want anything to move. So that's going to go there. And my roses are going to go, or not roses. Oh, you know, they do look like roses, don't they? We're going to call them roses. I think they're pretty, whether they're roses or tulips, they're beautiful. So we're going to put that one right there. Get that watering can right here. And then I'm going to get these leaves. Let's lift that up. See if we can get that Get these little stems underneath there. And then we've got our boots, and they're going to go right about here. And then we have the die for our flowers, which is right here. That's our last one that we need to cut. And we are going to put our top plate over top of this. And I'm going to get all of those cut in one sweep. Let's go ahead and close this up and set it back over here. And slide that over. Everything's going to stay in because, oh, that one moved. Do you see what happened? So we will need to cut that one over. Normally that doesn't happen, but I think I didn't have that taped down good enough. So let's hope everything else stayed in place, and if it did, we are good to go. So we'll just leave that little die right there. I'm going to put everything else back over on my magnetic sheet. That did well. So that one's good. And my boots look good. So we can put those down over here. The tulips look like they, or roses look like they cut pretty well. So those are good. And my stems, they look beautiful. So those are good. Everything else cut really good. The only thing we got to do over is that flower pot. And you know what? I didn't like it in the pale papaya. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to turn that piece over right there. And I'm going to restamp that. And we won't have to recut because there's nothing wrong with that cut. The only thing that's wrong was the stamp. So let's put everything back over here and turn that plate back over. And we'll set these over here. And then I'm going to take that stamp. I'm trying to decide what color do I want this to be. And I'm not too sure that I don't want that flower pot to be a pink. Let's go ahead and grab that Flirty Flamingo. Or how about Blushing Bride? That might even be softer and much prettier. So I'm going to use that color. And all of y'all know me by now, and you know how indecisive I am. But you know what? That's all right. A different color might not be a bad thing. I think that's fine. We're going to go with that. It's not perfect, but you know what? Handmade cards usually aren't perfect. They're handmade. So I'm going to lay that over there, and we're going to go with this. So now let's pull our card back over. We're going to need some Stampin' Dimensionals, and maybe even some of our small ones. I don't know if I got any more minis. You know, I ordered some of those. My order was supposed to come today, but my deliveries have not been working real well for me lately, and that's all right. Yeah, these are no minis. All of these are my full-size ones, so that's all right. If we need to cut some of these in two, we'll do that. So this might be one that we will need some little ones on, but we'll just cut some of these little pieces here and make our own. How about that? All right. I am going to start off with my rain boots right over here in that grass. Just like that. I am going to want some dimensionals on there, and I'm going to trim this off just a little bit since I didn't stamp it perfect. We're going to trim it like that. And like that. And I think that'll work just fine. So that's going to probably go right about there with these flowers like that. This watering pot's going to go right here. We will pop that up, but I think this is going to go down flat. And these flowers are going to pop up right here. Very pretty. And then we're going to have these rain boots right about here with these stems. And you know what I did with these? I used my little finger blade. So if you have one of these finger blades, what I did is I just cut a tiny little cut right across there and right across here. And what you want it to do is you just want that to cut through like that. And it did. And this is not a Stampin' Up! Product. It's just a little finger blade that I picked up because I'm not good with an X-Acto knife, but I can work with that one. And I am going to set that down, and you're going to see how good this is going to fit in here. Once you get that little finger cut in there, and then you can sit these down just like this. How neat is that? And then you can pop your little roses right on the top of these, just like so. I think that looks so cute. And then this can go here, and then we can take the other piece of this and we can cut. I'm thinking I want to use white on that because we've got so much going on in dark. I think we need something lighter to go right here. So what I'm going to do is stamp that in. I think I'm going to stamp that in that Magenta Madness. Let me bring this front and center, because once we get this all stamped, then we will work the entire card together. But I think that's exactly what I want to do. So my Magenta Madness, And nope, that's not going to work. We're going to need something just a little bit. Yeah, that will work. I'm going to line that up on my grid line right there. Making sure I get it nice and straight before I stamp it. And I'm going to go right here. And then I'm going to cut that out because I don't think I want it on anything. I just want to just kind of cut that straight across. And then I'm just going to cut around. And then we're going to cut up and around and straight up like that. And I think that's going to look really cute, just like that. So let me pull everything back over here so you can see what it's going to look like. I did use that Tasteful Labels here on this one, but I used a different one, and I think I like this like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some dimensionals on these boots. So I'm going to put one there, one here, maybe one there in the middle, a couple down here on the bottom, and one right here on this toe. Let's grab that little take your pick tool that I like to use so much, and I'm just going to pick up these dimensionals off. That's how I usually check to make sure I got them all off. So let's move everything to the side so we can make sure we're getting everything positioned exactly where we want it. So I'm going to set those boots right here. And then I am going to stuff those down right about there. So I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals right in here. There we go. And now all we have to do is put our roses right up here. And I think for these I'm going to use some regular glue. So I'm going to pull that glue out. And I'm going to put a little dab of glue here, here, up here, there, 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 and there. And then we're going to just set these flowers down into that glue. Just like that. And I'm going to cut just a tiny little bit. I'm going to put just a tiny one of those back there. When you don't have the little mini dimensionals, you know what you do? You just improvise. And I need one more right there. So let's cut another little piece. Right there. And pull the backer off of it. And let's put it right behind this one and press it down. And that one is good to go. And we're going to need a couple on the back of this. So there's one. And then we can put this one right about here. Now I think what I want to do with this rain can or watering can is we're going to put it right about there, but we're going to pop it up. So I'm going to grab a new thing of dimensionals and put one right here on that edge and one right there. Just like that, maybe one in the center just to kind of balance it out. And then we can set this down right about there. And we are going to put this right about here. And I'm going to glue this down with just straight down with some glue. And then we're going to put these flowers and then they can go in right about here, and we'll put those on a couple of dimensionals as well. And then those are going to go into that flower pot right about like that. And look how pretty that card turned out. Now, like I said, we had that piece of cardstock that we had cut that we can now cut down and use it for the inside of our card. And if you wanted to, you could do another thing of these flowers and put right there, but I think it would be a little bit of an overkill. So for that reason, I am going to leave it as is. And we're just going to cut this piece down. we know we're going to need it to be 5 1/4 by 4. And we are just going to stick this inside, and I'm going to leave it like that because, you know, I don't always know who I'm going to send the card to, and I think I might want to personalize this one. But there is that card. And here is the one done in the more lighter pastels. So you'll have to judge which one you like the best. They're both pretty, they're both different, but they're both done the same way, just using different inks and different colors of background paper. So you'll leave me a comment and let me know which one of these you like the best and which one you might like to make. Both beautiful, both done just a little bit different. God bless and keep you, and as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say bring glory to our Father in heaven. He is worthy. So until we craft again, may God bless and keep you, and remember, I love you all so very much. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye.